Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So I finally got this in. I mean, unfortunately, I always get mine late because I subscribe directly from Marvel and it's almost always late now, which sucks, but I'm still glad that I actually do get it, even if it is late. So this is going to be like a Gambit focused story, which I was excited about, and kind of a story from his past, which I was a little bit like dreading because I thought, oh no, it's going to be like a secret child or something, or someone's going to come in and like try to break up Rogue and Gambit and ruin their marriage. Because, Marvel tends to do that, like throw obstacles in marriages, break them up. I mean, Spider-Man, anyone? And I think like Reed and Sue are the only ones that have actually stayed together, like stayed together. And even then, there have been obstacles and stuff that's happened. So, I guess Marvel views marriage as kind of boring. I mean, oh, well, there's also Black Bolt and Medusa, but for the most part, Marvel's like, no, marriage is boring. We're not going to do that. We need to shake it up somehow. So I hope they don't do that to Rogue and Gambit. I mean, they've been married, since like 2016, but it doesn't even seem like it's been that long. So I don't want anything to happen to that yet. So I was dreading the story because I thought, oh, something's going to happen. It's going to shake up their marriage. I don't, like I said, it's like a secret love child or something like that. And I was dreading it. So I read it and I'm happy to say that is not the case. So so this is, in Gambit's thoughts, this, usually it's been rogues, but or in some cases, night crawlers, but mostly, yeah, Gambit, or mostly rogue. So this is Gambit's, narration. So he's worried about Rogue because she hasn't been sleeping well ever since she told Gambit to take Jitter down hard to show, the kids that this is not a game. But, she also feels really bad. So here she is, and there's Jitter, and Gambit says that, yeah, she's been up since 4:30 practicing. And there's, the other kids, they're kind of, like there to support her, saying, hey, you have 2 minutes, this is what you need to do, etc. And Death Dream says, Ransom, will you teach me how to box? And he's like, what for? And Calico brings up the point, well, he's, he can summon the spirits of the dead, so he might still be able to need to be able to punch somebody, defend himself. So, and here comes Rogue, and she says, was I not clear? Jitter. And Gambit says, when she says, it has that tone of voice, like ice goes down his back, which I'm not sure, like, what's going on. Like, she has her costume boots on, and then it looks like she just, like, threw on Gambit's shirt. I mean, I feel like she could have put, like, on more clothes than just that. I mean, because, kids. But anyway, I'm sure people will be like, rolling their eyes at that comment that I said, but I feel like she could have, thrown on the shorts or pants or whatever. So anyway, she goes up to Jitter and she's like, show me your hands. And they're all blistered and bleeding because Jitter's been at it so long. And then she hugs her and says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And Jitter's like, oh, it's okay. You're squishing me. Please don't squish me. And then Rogue says Gambit should apologize too, and Jitter said he already apologized last night, and he said he knew you were going to apologize. And then Death Dreams comes back, and he's like, I'm ready. And Ransom's like, yeah, those clothes don't fit you. We still need to find you something else. So Marcus, he rings the bell for breakfast, and he's like, everyone needs to wash their hands and be in here in 5 minutes, otherwise, oh well, you're out of luck. So, and Gambit finds a note in his pocket that wasn't there, before. Oh, also, they're talking about Gambit's shoes. They're like, what's up with those shoes? And it looks like they're waiters. And he's like, these are Cajun sneakers. We're gonna have a crawfish boil tonight. So yeah. And he's like, it's the best thing you've ever tasted. And they're all like, saying their favorite dishes like strawberry shortcake, um, empanadas, queso empanadas, cinnamon, the cinnamon pretzels that they had at the mall. Yeah. So I definitely agree. Mexican food is really good. Like that's my favorite, but I like enchiladas. Those, those are my most favorite. So there's the note in his pocket. You can read it right there. And there's little Gambit, and it says, in memory of a boy prince. So he's out collecting crawfish. And yeah, these boys come up and call him freak and everything and threaten him. And his dad, Jean-Luc, his adopted father, told him that he can't, he can't fight back because these boys are from the Assassin's Guild and like he can't start anything with them. Like that would be disastrous. So he was young, he was stupid, he was told not to fight. So he didn't fight, but he did egg them on because he didn't want them to think he was, scared. So, or he didn't run, didn't beg. He just, basically egged them on to show how tough he was. So they did. They beat him. They beat him up, which Gambit says he was ignorant for doing that. And here is the Vig. And he's in the employment of Jean-Luc. Um, and he says, Gambit says his dad employs a lot of people, and they're all like hardened, scary people, but the Vig is the scariest of all, and almost everyone's afraid of him. And the Vig is like, so, like, what did I saw that you stole stuff from them while you were fighting. So he pulls out all the stuff he stole. And he, said, I can tell you where those boys are going to be tonight. Basically, like, you want revenge. I can tell you where they're going to be. And your dad's out of town for a week. So, so he'll never find out. And Gambit was just like, wow, you do that for me? And the Big's like, yeah, us Briggs got to stick together. And Gambit's like, well, how does he know? Does he know about my powers? But of course, he's always had these eyes. So, that pretty much, would be enough for a lot of people to call him a freak. So he goes and finds the boys and basically beats up on them instead. And this is actually like Salvatore's kid, and he's the leader of the Assassin's Guild. And then basically, Salvatore's kid threatens Gambit, says, hey, that girl you like, Belladonna, well, I'm gonna, hurt her if you hurt me. Well, Gambit, that just made him mad, so he went over and clocked him. And then he said the Big bought him a po' boy shrimp sandwich. Yeah, shrimp. Well, we are talking about crawfish earlier, so I'm like, wait, that's a thing though. So yeah, I had to check, and yeah, it's shrimp. So bought him the sandwich. He says the best sandwich he's ever tasted. And then while they're sitting there eating it, uh, Salvatore comes and he's like, hey, your kid, this kid, gave my son a like dislocated jaw. I mean, there's him and three other adults, and one of them has a bat, and they're basically coming to beat up on Gambit, even though he's just a kid. And basically, the Vig stuck up for him, and told Gambit to run, basically. He's like, I didn't hurt them too bad, but, you still need to disappear for a while. Because this needs to cool down. It'll blow over. They'll forget. Nobody wants an outright war, but yeah, you have to disappear for a while. So his aunt Maddie told him about this place, Haven House, and run by Marcus. And Gambit says, hey, I need a place to be for a while. And so again, the whole chores thing. He reads the paper. 2 days later, it says four killed in slaying at four known felons killed at the cathedral, heads ripped clean off. And then he gets a phone call saying, "Hey," from the big, saying, "Hey, he got a little carried away, but he took care of Gambit's problem. Like now, nobody will ever know that, kind of what happened." And he said, "Now you owe me 25% of everything you make belongs to me." So Rogue is worried about him, and she says, "Let me go with you." And he says, you know, "I'll never be free of him if she goes with him." Basically, he needs to stand up to him by himself. "You're the best thing ever to happen to me. You remember that?" Oh, that's so sweet. And then he says, "Hello, Big. Tell me what you want." Okay, I'm sorry, but every time I hear "Tell me what you want," I think of the Spice Girls song. Oh, I mean, well, can you blame me? It was like super, super, super popular for a long time, and it was everywhere, and they played it constantly. So anyway, the Big is like, "Yeah, what I want is like what you owe me. You have a mansion, you have, this girl you're married to. Where's my piece of the cut?" You have friends, and he's like, "Now you have these four kids that you're mentoring. I want one of them. You can pick which one." Which is so bizarre for him to be like, "I want one of the kids." What is, what is he even gonna do with that? I don't understand. Well, not, I don't think we want to know. Anyway, of course, Gambit's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen." So they fight, and the Big's he's fast, but Gambit keeps dodging him, and the Big's like, "You can't dodge me forever," and he's like, "Well, I wasn't intending to. I just was looking for the opportunity to put this whole pack of cards in your shirt pocket." So basically, Gambit tells us that he learned that the Big actually set the whole thing up. That the kids, Salvatore's kid, the Big actually paid them to basically beat up Gambit because the Big wanted Gambit to owe him. I mean, being the Prince of the Thieves Guild is a pretty big deal. So basically, the Big wanted to own him, and he did until Gambit was stood up to him. And he also said, he told us, he spoke to Salvatore's kid, all grown up now, and he told his kid where the Big was because he killed Salvatore's dad. So I mean, he's probably out for revenge. So we go back, and here's Gambit with the crawfish, and they do a crawfish boil, and he tells them, how to kind of take him apart. And then he talks about how the Big was right, that he has everything. He has, the hottest gal. That's cute that he's. I mean, like I said, they've been married since 2016, but it doesn't even seem like they've been married that long. I mean, but it's cute that they're still like in this kind of like honeymoon phase. And I hope that Marvel doesn't do anything to ruin that. Like, I hope they don't. Like, I hope they don't, drive a wedge between them, or I just want them to let them be happy. That's all. So, and then he says, "Truest friends, even Nightcrawler's murky beer," because you remember earlier, um, Gambit has this a specific Louisiana blend beer that he loves. And Nightcrawler, being from Germany, of course, he thinks his beer is better. So they kind of have an argument about that. And then now he says, and he has youngins to pass something on to. So, and he talks about how to, take the shells off and the tail and the head off of the shrimp. Um, so yeah, I guess. Oh, and then Rogue's like, is it weird that I'm incredibly turned on right now?" Maybe a little bit, but And then Gambit says, "You were right, Big. I do have everything." So Yeah, so now I feel like I need to try crawfish. I mean, of course, I've had shrimp and stuff. I'm sure it's not the same, so I want to try it so that I can find out like how different it is. Okay, here's the part where I'm not sure about, where I'm like, okay, I hope that this doesn't happen. So we see the mayor's office, and we see that her assistant tells her that someone's been waiting to see her all day. So, okay, do you guys recognize her? I didn't recognize her at first, but it is Mackenzie Denier. She is the one who Nightcrawler saved her little girl from being hit by the van. So, and she's saying, I know how important your time is. I've been researching, and you need to hear this. It's the mutants, Mayor. You have to do something about the mutants. Okay, I hope she doesn't mean that in a negative way. If she does, I will be very upset. Because, okay, Nightcrawler saved her daughter in Uncanny X Men 6. And then in Uncanny X Men 10, we saw her come to Haven House with a hat and a scarf she knitted and all these desserts, in gratitude. So for her now to be like, you need to do something about the mutants, and it be a negative thing, like as in you need to get rid of them, they're a menace, I will be crushed because that was such a cute moment, like a touching moment for and just shine a spotlight on not on Nightcrawler. I loved that moment. It was so cute, and for her to be like, if this is a negative, then I'm just gonna be crushed. And I hope it's just you need to do something about the mutants because people are targeting them and calling them a menace when they're really not. And then she's gonna use her own daughter, Nightcrawler saving her daughter as an example. I hope that this is where this is going. I hope. Like I said, if it goes the other way, the negative direction, I'm going to be crushed. I'm going to be really just upset because I love seeing, people appreciate, especially that moment between her and Nightcrawler, people appreciating Nightcrawler and appreciating mutants and all that they can do. And when, Nightcrawler's like, I know I look like a demon. And she's like, stop, you look like an angel to me. I was like, oh, I almost got, like, seriously, I got a little choked up. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Because I've always loved Nightcrawler. And one of my favorite stories is God Loves, Man Kills, just because it's just so emotional. And, Nightcrawler is specifically mentioned in that story, and like just the dichotomy of what he goes through all the time, and just oh, anyway, sorry, I'm getting emotional because I will just not be happy if that's the direction this goes. So I hope that it's not going that direction, but you never know. I mean, honestly, I thought something was going to happen in here, like a secret love child or something to break up their marriage. Something coming back from Gambit's past to completely like tear him and Rogue apart. And I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't that. So here's fingers crossed, hoping that Mrs. Denier is not going to do anything or is not saying that in like a negative way. So fingers crossed, hopefully. So I hope you will join me again in the future for more videos. And until next time, bye.